Does it record on YouTube? That's a mystery. All right, we are on. Okay, wait, I'm just gonna check if it's on YouTube before.
Okay, yeah.
Okay, it's on YouTube. There's 3 viewers, apparently.
Us?
Maybe.
Well, if there's anyone watching this, please say hi.
Yeah, hi.
Go to it, and I want to go.
Hello. Wait, I'm gonna go. No, there's 4 viewers, so there's definitely someone else now.
I see comments on my phone, so I see Jem.
No, that's Mikala that disconnected herself.
Oh, I see comments on my phone, but I don't see it on
Oh, okay. Well, okay. So we have 2 people, but we have no comments here.
Yeah,
yeah, this is the first one, so we're figuring it out. Yeah. Bear with us.
Okay, so I see Jim, I see Brooklyn, and I see Ashling is here. Thank you guys for coming.
Sorry.
Well, we'll figure it out. Can you guys
hear me?
I can hear you, yeah.
Okay, I cannot hear you, so that's an issue. Wait just a second. Okay.
Oh, thank you, Brooklyn. So the comments are delayed, I think.
Oh.
I cannot see them. That's weird.
Yeah.
Can you see them on the StreamYard?
I can only see it on my phone.
Well, hello to everyone. I have them on my phone, so I guess like I'll just check my phone every now and then because it doesn't show my. But thanks to everyone saying tips because they're like actually helping us. They're so nice. Yeah. We're like the grandmas of YouTube. Please like be gentle.
The golden girls.
Anyway, so I guess we'll just start. So I'm just gonna say hi to everyone for actual, saying the proper welcome. I don't know why I'm taking the lead on this, so I'm just taking the lead.
By all means.
So today we're discussing, as you all know, because we've been talking about this for like a month. We have an actual copy, the 3 of us, because we did our homework and we read the book, Silver Nitrate by Silvia Moreno Garcia. It's good that we have a Spanish speaker in the room because I'm actually going to pronounce every name in this book correctly.
Yeah,
especially because there's a Catalan one, and since I'm Catalan, I will actually pronounce it correctly. Who wants to do the recap, of the book? Any of you?
I can go for it. So, okay. I hope I can give a good recap. But, okay, so Silver Nitrate, we are following, and Mary, please correct me if my speaking of her name is not good, but Montserrat.
Montserrat. There you go.
Okay, so she
the double R is a bit tricky.
Yes, I'm not good at the double R. But okay, so she is in sound design and works in film and production, and her the main characters is her and her best friend Tristan. They've been friends since they were little kids, and she is a horror film buff. She loves horror films, and so her best friend Tristan in his building moves a I think he a film director. He was a classic film or actor or something.
Yeah,
the friend Tristan.
No, the man in the building.
The old guy whose name I forgot already. He was a director.
Director, okay. And so she is when she finds this out, she is so excited because he directed this classic horror film that she loved that's basically fallen off the map. It's this cult classic film that nobody really knows much about. And he introduces them to a lot of occultism, and it basically they fall into this world of occultism, and it's kind of like a haunted film sort of book, which is a very fun trope. I love that aspect of it. Is there any other plot points I'm missing? I feel
well, there's the whole Nazi thing going on, but
yes,
I mean, it's not a spoiler because it's in the book synopsis, which I was a bit surprised to see. And I think that's pretty much it. Maddie, anything?
Yeah, I feel it gets into it took a turn for me. The synopsis, I didn't even read it. to be honest. And I was like, oh, this is going to be about film editing. And then it fully went into like recreating this whole ritual.
Yes. So should we do ratings to start? Should we say?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Who wants to start?
I'm scared to do this because like I feel like we're gonna have very different ratings.
Okay. Who wants to start?
All right.
So for me, I was 3 stars.
Okay.
Oh.
Okay.
It was like a very close 2, but I was like, no.
So for me, I'm a 2-star, and I was a close one. I was a close one.
Okay, I'm getting out of this life. I'm out of here. You're all haters, and I just cannot tolerate this slander of Silvia Moreno Garcia. No, this was a 5 for me.
Oh wow. Okay.
This is going to be an interesting discussion.
What do you mean a 2? A 2?
I will say though, I am a very critical reader, so it like no, I'm
not.
I mean, it's hard for me to be pleased sometimes. So I think things that a lot of people enjoy, sometimes I am like, I can't be pleased almost. So like, if you guys love this book, I think it might just be a me thing sometimes because
you can say that it's a me thing because I feel like most of Goodreads is agreeing with you two and no one is agreeing with me. So.
Oh, really? What do you know what the rating is right now?
It's like 3.4, I think.
Oh, really? Okay.
Does everyone chat like what in the chat? Any of the viewers, have you read it? What was your rating?
Yeah, what's your rating?
If you read it, obviously. If you have not read it, like we'll check your Goodreads, once you're done. But am I the only one that liked this book? Because I feel like, what's the rating on Goodreads? Did you check, Maddie?
Yeah, I think it's 3.75. So it's not too bad. Oh, maybe your 5-star bumped it up.
My only 5 is like boop. Just made it like a low 3-star as well. Oh, on the comments. No. But I did know about her rating before coming into the video because I saw her Goodreads. All right. So just before we talk about why we did or didn't like or why I loved this book and gave it a 5, I have to say that I only read 3 books in the month of August total, which is my lowest reading month ever. Like, I've never, ever since I started tracking it. And I think because the 2 first books of August were extremely bad. And it was like, I really vibed with the entire thing. Like, it really hits a lot of things that I enjoy. And I was really into it. And I actually couldn't put it down. And like, to me, that feeling kind of bumps the rating a lot. If whatever happens at the end, there's some exception to this, hidden pictures. I couldn't put it down, but then the actual book was a mess. So I didn't give it a 5. But, like, I was really like, I actually stayed up until like 1 a.m. to finish it. Like, I was like really into it. And yes, I think like the context influenced my rating a bit. I think on another day it would have been a 4, not a 5, but it's still a book that I enjoyed a lot. And like, anyway, just a bit of context.
I will say, Meri, too, I did read this in a single sitting, but I think that's because I procrastinated to reading this book until Friday. So I had to.
Well, you'd be happy to know that everyone is agreeing with you too, and that I just feel like, I hope like I'll get sent the next Silvia Moreno Garcia book just because I'm the only one that likes her books.
This is my first one too. I did not
me too.
Mexican Gothic. I do want to though, but I haven't. This is my first one from her.
I think you'll enjoy Mexican Gothic more than this one. Okay. And I was reading the book and I was like, they're not gonna like this. They're not gonna like this. Like at several passages, I was like, oh boy. Fine. See, people in the comments are agreeing with me. People who have read both, they preferred Mexican Gothic. I think I'm going to say a popular opinion, but I think I prefer Silver Nitrate to Mexican Gothic.
Ooh, interesting. Okay.
It's just the setting and the whole like cursed movie thingy. Like I really like it, and anyway like
yeah. As soon as I saw it was more found footage, I had a feeling you'd be really into it because that's totally up your alley.
I was like, this is like, yes. I was really vibing with it.
Whereas Mexican Gothic is more like the haunted house sort of thing, right? And I feel like Maddie, that's more like we like the haunted house. Yeah.
Yeah, Mexican Gothic is more your traditional, like your standard horror like tropes in a way. Like there's the haunted house, the creepy family, like there's the creepy grandma like going in the house, like going like, we need you, and like these things. I read the book like 3 years ago. I do not remember anything about it, but like these things are in it. And this one is more niche. I feel like she really tried to go on a weird vibe thingy, and I think she did it at this point because she knows she's popular now. But like if this book had come out like 5 years ago before Mexican Gothic, I think it would have flopped and no one would have bought it.
So can we get into non-spoilers, either what we liked or what we didn't like? I don't know. Do we want to start with what we liked, the positive things?
Sure.
Let's go with positive. I'll let you talk since you guys didn't like it. I want to know what you liked, if you liked something about it.
I do have to say, I was immediately like, from that first page, like the book opens up with like a film sequence. Like she's editing a film and we're basically like reading, like we're watching that film that she's editing. And I loved that first page. Like it was so atmospheric. Like even the first sentence, I was like, ooh, it immediately made my expectations go like way up here. From there though, like I don't think the writing was as like vivid or atmospheric. So I did really like the start of it, but for me, it kind of like lost steam along the way.
So yeah, I felt the same way. Like with the beginning, like as soon as I read the first page, one of my first notes was like, this is going to be good. Like I'm already captivated. And I still really liked the plot. Like the concept of it, I thought the sound editing was really interesting. Like I personally learned a lot and I didn't realize that was something that I'd be interested in. So like knowing how movies were produced in the 90s and all of the information about the actual tape that they record on was cool. And I did like the occult stuff. I was into that. I'm not going to get into what I didn't like yet, but I liked the whole idea of the book. The plot I thought was really good. And that's why I was at 3 instead of a 2, because I'm like, okay, 50% of this I do actually really enjoy. So
anything else you liked, Mikala, besides the first chapter?
Oh.
Okay. Couldn't you just give this a 1?
I don't know. I'm sorry.
I mean, like...
Okay, I am a person that is very easily convinced at the same time. So Meri, we have read books before in the past.
It's true that when we discussed The Certain Hunger, you started as a 2 and you ended up on a higher
4
note.
Because you convinced me. So tell me, why should I like this book?
Oh my God, is this a job interview? Yeah. Are you paid by Silvia Moreno? So as you said, like I really like from the get-go, the first chapter really set the mood. I think the fact that I read in like a short period really made the experience much more like immersive. Like I really felt like I was living the things these characters were living. I love the plot. You guys know that I love haunted movies. I love found footage, and I love creepy vibes like around these 2 things. And I mean, this entire book had like the 3 things. I do agree with you on one specific thing, and that's the writing. Sometimes it felt like very descriptive and not like it felt like me when I talk and I don't edit myself. It's like there's a lot of like, side notes and side notes and side notes. And then it's like back to the main thing. But since I talk like that, I kind of felt like, I was relating to the story, because I was like, oh, well, thanks for like all this information that we didn't need. But I enjoyed it. I did like the fact that the 2 main characters were bisexual. That's like, I'm that easy. Like, I love me some bisexual representation, and there was some a lot of it. I love that they talked about the impact of being bisexual in Mexico in the 90s, even though I really don't know if that was the case, but like if it was anything like, in Europe, like, I can, it was good. I really loved the whole like investigation side of things. Like I kind of reminded me of A Good Girl's Guide to Murder. I don't know if you've both read that book, but it's a YA thriller. Like it was told kind of like you were advancing the investigation with them, and I really liked that. Like it felt like choose your own adventure type of thing. And yeah, like overall, like I just liked how it all ties together, even though it's an easy tie together, like and I like the magic system, even though it was not explained. I like that it was not explained. Like I don't know, I like the whole, like, we talk about the magic, and I loved Montserrat reading the magic book and us discovering it with her instead of like her retelling it like later to Tristan. Like I don't know, I really liked that. And just yeah, overall, I mean, I like the book, so like it's like hard for me to say like if I say the things I didn't like, not subjective things I didn't like, is the sister storyline, because her name was my mom's name, and it was very weird to like it's very, my mom's name is very rare, and it's extremely rare to see it in Spanish books, and even more rare to see it in like English books. So I was like, what is this doing here? So it kind of like I was not relating to the sister storyline because of that. I overall felt like the sister storyline was not needed at all. Like I felt like that could have been cut off the book, and like nothing would have happened, like and I felt like the ending was rushed. Like I would have liked a bit less introduction. Like I would have organized the book a bit different, like have less introduction, less of the storyline with the sister, and introduce the director storyline with his friends and the whole like thing that goes on with the friends and like the groups of like magic and blah blah blah. I would have done this a bit more towards the middle and have it expand in a more organic way towards the end, instead of all happening in the 70 like at the 250 page, and you're like
I think that was one of the biggest things for me, Meri, is like from the synopsis, like it mentions occultism, and I was expecting a lot more of that. Like it just didn't seem to be a very strong focus of the book. Like we got a little bit of it, but I feel like this book reads more literary to me and more focused on like the characters' relationships. And I think I wanted a little bit more of the horror aspect. But even though like I didn't love this book, I can see people enjoying this, like especially if you do like literary fiction, if you like romance. I think if you want something for spooky season, this could be a good pick because it is light on the horror. Like there's only maybe one really spooky scene, one or two that I picked out in the book that I thought was actually kind of scary.
Yeah,
some people don't like real graphic horror, so I think this could be a good recommendation for some people.
Totally. This was not horror. I forgot to say the most obvious thing, but just because it's Silvia Moreno Garcia, we should not market her as horror. Like I know she's trying to win another Goodreads Choice Awards category horror, but like this is a thriller. Like it's not even a thriller. It's like
more mystery.
Mystery. Yeah.
Thanks. I can't find the.
And much more fantasy than I was expecting, I think. Like I like the magical realism, so I did enjoy that part, but it was much more fantasy with magical elements than horror. Because I agree with you, Mikala. There was like a couple spooky scenes, but it was mostly like romance and like fantasy, I would even say, like with magical stuff. So if that's more your vibe, like you said, if there's something you're looking for spooky season, but you read like fantasy romance, this would probably be a really good option.
You know what I almost think too is like, I think because of her success with Mexican Gothic, she is kind of being branded as a horror author. And so like when you look at this cover, I'm trying to not get the glare, but like when you look at this cover, like that looks like horror, right?
Yeah.
So it intrigues the three of us who are horror fans. And so we go into this book with almost false expectations. And that's where I feel like sometimes the publishing world does not market books correctly, almost like market this towards a different audience. And you will see those Goodreads ratings, you know,
for sure.
But it was like a certain hunger. We talked about this, like how the cover doesn't really sell the US cover doesn't really sell the book well, and the UK cover, I think, like it really describes the book to perfection because it's a non-serious book, whereas the US one, it's like, this is going to be a serious like story about a woman who's a killer, and it's not. And I agree with this. I love the cover though, like it's really nice. And since I spent like a lot of money on this cover, like thank God I love the book.
It is pretty. I agree. Like this is a cover to face off.
It's like, oh, shine. I love shiny things. But yeah, exactly. It's just like White Horse. Sorry, I'm reading the comments.
Oh my God, who said that? Oh my gosh. Okay, Lauren.
White Horse.
Yes, in my notes. Literally,
100%.
This book reminded me of White Horse. That is so crazy you mentioned that.
It's the worst marketing to a horror book. And I hated White Horse because I was expecting something that never happened.
Yeah.
And this, at least, I wasn't disappointed in it. Like, I enjoyed the ride, thank God. But White Horse was really like...
You know why it reminded me of White Horse? Because of some of the dialogue in this. I felt at times, this to me felt like a debut novel. And I don't mean that disrespectfully, like, I don't know. I mean, how do you say that in disrespectful? But to me, it felt like a debut sometimes with this dialogue that felt very like rough, you know? Like
it's funny because like I honestly like I have a lot of parts highlighted, as you can see, like and there were some dialogue exchanges that I genuinely laughed out loud. Like I was like really loving. Like it's just like maybe it's a I don't know, like I'm trying to find some examples of it, but like there were some dialogues that really felt genuine and like I could see myself having a conversation like this in real life.
You know what? I think maybe for me, okay, so this gets into what I did not like about the book. I think something for me where the dialogue didn't work for me is because I did not like the relationship and dynamic between these two main characters, Tristan.
No, I hated it. Hated it.
I have a lot.
I was like, their codependency. I can't.
Yeah, it's toxic. Stop it. I do love the book. I hated the relationship too. So I agree with you on this. Tristan could have been another thing, like a best friend. The sister could have been Tristan. I don't care. Like, I hated the romance storyline that they were pushing down our throats. Like I was like, nope, this is I
felt it that it was being. That's what I felt, Mary. Is like the author was trying to push it down our throats. And you know what was so weird about it too to me is she spent so much time painting a picture of Tristan as this like F-boy, you know, like this guy who doesn't want to commit,
he's a loser.
Yeah. But then without giving spoilers, by the end there is a twist, okay, that kind of brings his character arc full like 180, and it was weird. Like
it was just out of left field. I felt like I'm like, huh?
Yeah, and I'm not about this guy. Like I don't want him with the main character. Like he treated her like a doormat, you know, and she put up with it, and that frustrated me too.
Yeah, I also felt like how he saw her was just like so. It was like she was just an extension of him when she's supposed to be the main character. It was like he was the main character and she's just like the love interest in the book. And I'm like, how did we get here? This is not how we're supposed to.
That is such a good point, Maddie. Yes.
Because we got so much of his backstory with like his struggles and we got a little bit of hers, but like nowhere near the same amount.
Yeah.
And
sorry, go finish and then I'll say
that's
what
okay. It just felt like, how do I say this? You know, sometimes when you read, I don't know if you guys feel the same way, but Riley Sager books, when he writes female characters, it was like the reverse of that, where I'm like, oh.
the female gaze, but on masculine characters.
Yeah.
A good comparison.
It felt like a telenovela plot was input in this whole thing. At some point, I thought Tristan, and I mean, this is not a spoiler, but at some point I thought he was going to hook up with the sister just to like add pizzazz to the whole like telenovela plot that we were getting. But like the whole backstory of Tristan and like he's like, and I'm going to spoil some things now. So just in case if people haven't, well, I mean, I think 95% of people watching the live are not going to read this book now, but
yeah.
The whole like I'm addicted to alcohol, drugs, whatever this thing, and the accident with the ex-girlfriend, and like this whole thing, I was like, why are you trying to Taylor Jenkins read yourself into this? Like, what is happening? Like, I don't like this. Like, why are we getting so many details on this backstory? And okay, I get it. It was to like say that later he was going to see the ghost of the ex-girlfriend and whatnot, but it could have been something else, something less stereotypical, because it's very like it's like on this thing, like she really put like like she went ChatGPT and asked him like write me a 90s bisexual actor in Mexico and like he struggles with life, and like he just generated like some random stuff about and it just felt very non-original, and I really dislike the Tristan character. Like the background of Tristan was not good, like not good.
I agree to Mary, like what you said about it feeling unoriginal. Like I felt like that too. Like some of the trope dynamics in their relationship. Like there was this page I dog-eared. It was page 229. There's a part where Tristan literally goes into the "she's prettier without makeup" thing, and it just
really?
Yes. Oh my god. Okay, so it's page 2. Well, I hope our copies
chapter 21.
Okay, so it's 229. Let me see.
I know what you're talking about. This is where I have a note that literally says her vision through Tristan's eyes is giving like I'm not like the other girls. And I'm like that's not her.
Oh yes. Oh my god, I just reread that part.
And it's just so like I can't believe too this was written by a female author.
That's why I said the Riley Sager thing, because I'm like, where?
Right.
I completely didn't compute. My brain did not read this sentence the same way. He believes Montserrat at her plainest was the best Montserrat for him. We're canceling Tristan. Okay.
Mikala, I feel like we're pulling Meri.
You're gonna make me go down from a 5. What is happening?
Oh man,
I'm getting out of here.
I don't know. That really did bother me. Like I think that was my thing, is that because this book read to me more as like a literary, almost like romance with some mystery elements, because I so deeply did not like the romance between the two characters. I think that's why I just overall like didn't like this book. If it had more of the spooky, if it had more of the occultism.
Yeah.
But can we get into that occultism too? Because I even have some things about that. Like, okay, so can we get into spoilers, everyone? I know we kind of have a little bit, but something that kind of bothered me too about the occultism aspect, and something else that I felt like was almost unoriginal, was I felt like some of this book had that trope of like the chosen one. Like it felt a bit like YA trope at times, where the main character, and Meri, I want to say her name right, Montserrat.
Yeah.
So she becomes like instantly good at magic. And it's like that trope of the plain, homely, basic, right? Like in YA, who suddenly discovers her powers and she's like the key to saving the world. And she's like the chosen one, you know? Like, so there was a couple scenes where like magic just comes to her and she's like, oh, I can just draw these runes out of nowhere. I'm like, no, I need more. Like, where did you get this practice? You know, like, I don't know.
I think for me, if they even leaned into that more and got rid of Tristan, made him like the side character, I probably would have even liked it more, because I can get down with the chosen one. That's fine. But like, it just felt like she had her whole thing going on with the chosen one, but then we were focused so much on Tristan's backstory. Go ahead, Meri.
Well, I'm gonna just maybe be the devil's advocate here, but the whole magic thingy with Montserrat, I don't think it was her at any time. Like, I think it was Ewers. I think that was his name. Yes. I think the fact that she was reading his book was making him come back in some sort of way,
like through her.
Exactly. And I think, and this was kind of hinted at the end, at some points, he goes, he follows her, and I think all of this was Ewers going, showing himself through her. And I think that's how I interpret it, because I do agree that at first I was like, oh my God, this is going to be a chosen one thingy again. But then the more she reads the magic, the more she can channel it. And I think it's Ewers waking up and not her actually I think she obviously has some sort of magic stuff, because they hint at this with the sister being a believer on the whole cure thingy and going to buy magical stuff and whatnot. So I think there's definitely there, but that's just my interpretation because it's not said or explained because there's no background. But I do honestly think, or that's the way I interpret it, is it's Ewers channeling through her and not, her just magically knowing how to shenanigan herself into doing magic tricks. It just,
That makes me feel even worse for her, though, because once again, now she's just an object to the men in the story that are
yeah, I mean, that's horrible, but it just it made sense. He was a piece of shit of a Nazi, and he thought nothing of non-white people. So to me, it makes sense that he uses her as a vessel to manifest himself. And then once he feels powerful, he goes out of her because he dismisses this type of people. Obviously everything I'm saying is not what I believe. This is not okay. We should not do these things. Please, magic people do not use women as vessels. But it's I that's how I saw it, and I think that made the whole experience a bit creepier for me and more horror-ish. Because I got this halfway through, the more she was reading the book, the more magic she was feeling. So I feel but maybe this is just some weird take that I have yet again on the books that I read, Eileen being, and the other character of Eileen, whose name I forgot already. But
I love that. You always come in with a whole different perspective that blows my mind.
Yes.
My brain, I'm tired of it. I have some questions for you. Is when I was, since I am incapable of having notes, I did prepare some questions.
Okay.
And while most of them you already answered, the first one was what did you enjoy the most? Well, you didn't enjoy anything, so that's good. I do have a question about the magic system. Did you like it or did you not? Did you understand anything or not at all?
I think so. I feel like it was the ruins, right? That was the whole with the writing and then having your own meaning to it. I think it was fine. I just think it was underdeveloped for me, at least. And I don't know if that's just because I need things to be spelled out for me in fantasy books. I'm not a big fantasy reader. So, I kind of need someone to walk me through it. But I just felt like it was kind of a side thing that became really big in the end. It wasn't they were progressing at all. It was just at the end, they started to make these, ruins. And then Jose had it on his arms. And it just came to be a big part at the end. But I liked the actual magic system. Just the development of it, I think wasn't there for me.
I totally agree with that too, Maddie. I feel like I wanted more. To me, that's why it just didn't feel believable to me when she to me, it felt like out of nowhere, like the scene that keeps coming to mind. I don't know if you guys remember this part, but she's in the like house of that woman. I can't remember her name, Alma, or there was like two of them.
Yeah.
She's in the house with Tristan, and that woman is trying to get them to like hand over the film or something. And she's trying to like ward them from not leaving the house. And then all of a sudden, Montserrat, she draws like a rune on the table and is like, no, we're leaving. Like, it wasn't believable to me. Like, that's parts where the dialogue kind of felt silly. Like, I don't know. Like, I just needed to see more of her becoming this like magical expert, you know? So I needed more from the magic system, I think.
I agree with the whole, like, I agree with both because I loved it, but I wanted more. Like, I think this book could have been, I don't know how long is it, 300? Yeah, ish. I'd say like 100 more pages would have been great to have more development on the creepiness of the whole Nazi going to Mexico to do shenanigans and the whole magic system, because I feel like when Alma and the second woman whose name I forgot and Jose, like they all come in, and I felt a bit lost at some, like I was like, everything is happening at once. Jose is there to help them with the spells. Then there's Alma who's, you know, like doing this thing, and I feel like this could have been a bit more developed, like maybe have like a couple of chapters from their perspective, like back in the days when Eeyore arrives and you're like, you know, maybe like some flashbacks, I don't know, like something to really have a soul to these characters, because they felt more like plot devices than actual characters, except for maybe like Jose was okay, like he was the most like,
I liked him.
But Alma, like I hated the whole like massive spoilers just in case, the whole like, oh, it's the nephew or the cousin or whatever, or my grand whatever, like family, like a family person, and then she's like, oh, but it was me all like all this time.
I felt
really
like that was so
this.
obvious too, like it was just like
you really are making me go down to a 4 or even a 3.5 on this book. I hate you too.
I feel like we all agree less romance and more magic system development.
Like we wanted the cool things and not the boring things. Like,
especially when you make your romance between such a problematic dude and like, I don't know, did you guys feel like Montserrat had a lot of, I didn't feel like her character was very dense or like fleshed out.
No,
like,
not at all.
Yeah, I didn't feel
that's why I felt like Tristan was the main character, because he had all of like as unlikable as he was fully fleshed out. I felt like Jose was more fleshed out than she was. Like, I don't know, because he had a whole personality and he was only in like a couple chapters.
Yeah.
I hate it, because what I'm gonna say now, it's just gonna lower even more my rating. But like,
no.
It's true that when I think about her character, the only thing I can remember is her being shitty to her boss. Like, I hated the way she talked to the boss at the beginning of the book. Her complaining about not getting enough like gigs and whatnot, and the sister having cancer.
Yeah, the only backstory you got from like her childhood was that she had a limp, but that was hardly talked about.
I forgot about this thing.
Yeah, it was just very random.
Yeah, it's true that like she was not really fleshed out as a character. Like she was very like two-dimensional.
Yeah.
Oh my god, that makes me rethink a lot of things. I think I needed like this. Now that I think about it, like it really feels like a blockbuster book, because I did enjoy the experience. Like I think in terms of experience, I give it a 5. But if you know, I kind of like yesterday I watched Dungeons and Dragons, the movie, random, but I feel like, you know, I had a good experience watching it, but I feel like if I start micro-analyzing everything about the movie, I'm gonna end up hating the movie or not liking it as much. And I feel like we're exactly doing this to the book.
See, that's a really good point, Mary, because I think sometimes that's like how do you review, you know, like, do you review enjoyment, or do you review like being super critical of a book? And I think there's a case to be made, like, that a book doesn't have to be like a literary success, you know, like it's okay to like things that
like
are
Twilight. It's a shit book, but I love it.
But you still love it, and you can rate it 5 out of 5 stars because it's important to you, and it brings value to you, you know. So that is the issue sometimes with like reviewing on YouTube. I find is like, where do you draw the line between being super critical and like and enjoying a book and like rating and raving about a book that just made you happy reading it, you know?
Like, I thought about it the other day because Escape and Control, which, yes, every opportunity I have, I talk about the book. But, like, I only read it once. And I wasn't really, like, I just really went with it. Like, I finished it and I was like, oh, my God, I absolutely love this book. And I want to reread it, but I'm, like, very scared to reread it because I've been praising this book and saying it's the best book ever. But I haven't reread it analytically, and maybe I'm gonna reread it and it's gonna be a shit show. And like, I just don't think I'm ready for this. Like, I mean, the book is highly rated on Goodreads, so I cannot be that wrong about the rating. But like, I'm rethinking my entire rating system right now. Like, this is gonna be a
questioning your entire.
I'm not gonna survive this like book club life.
Well,
I'm gonna go on my Goodreads and just think about everything I've rated.
I think this is so fun. Like, I love the dynamic though, because sometimes we have the opposite opinion. Like with A Certain Hunger, like you guys changed my mind on that. And I think it's kind of cool like, how we all have different opinions. Although maybe I'm noticing I am the one to tend to hate things and rate them badly. And then you guys convince me I like it. But maybe
it's good that for once it happened the other way around.
Yeah.
I do have to say my analytical rating is going to go down, but my enjoyment still is a 5 out of 5 because I did enjoy this book, reading this book a lot. Like, but the analytical rating is a 3 out of 5. But,
one more like super, this is so random too, but like something I wrote, like, did you guys notice at all that the book is actually set in the 90s? Did that click? Because
okay, that's funny because I had a question that's very, I think I had to go back and check when the book was set.
Yes.
Like at some point I was like, why are you not calling this, like call him like right away? And then I was like, wait, wasn't this set in the 90s or something? Like,
oh, she didn't have a cell phone.
Yeah, like I was like, the setting of 90s didn't actually have anything to do with the movies besides the whole like Silver Nitrate and like, you know.
But you know what, Mary, that's a really good example you just pointed out, that was an instance where it kind of, that the setting actually affected the plot. Because for me, I didn't notice at all that it was set in the 90s. I know in the very beginning, it says that like chapter heading page, it says 1993. And then at a certain, I don't know if you can see 1993. And at a certain point in the book, again, it says, she says a point where, 1994 was going to be a bad year because she wasn't going to. And I was like, 1994, what? I thought this was set in modern day. And then I remembered, but it doesn't affect the plot at all. It doesn't add anything. It doesn't seem intentional in any way. So it confuses me when authors decide to set their books in like random years. Like, why do you do this?
It feels, I'm just going to say it's true because one person, Brooklyn, I hope that's her name. It's true that like, I'm realizing now that like, there's all these channels commenting on our live chat, and I always refer to these channels with their channel name. And like, I hope, you know, I'm just gonna say Brooklyn because it says Brooklyn's Library, so I hope that's your name, Brooklyn's Library. But I'm sorry if it's not. She does say that like there's the whole like smoking and non-smoking in the restaurant.
Yes.
Yeah. And that's true.
It's clicking. It's clicking for me. Yes. Okay.
But it's the only part of the book where I was like, okay, the 90s is this like happening. But like, you know, the rest was very like.
I'm so glad that Brooklyn pointed that out, because that was a point in the book that confused me because I had already forgotten that it was set in the 90s. And I was like,
yeah,
smoking sections, what? You know? So okay, another good example. Thank you for adding that, because that does add an example where the time period actually did affect the plot. Otherwise, it doesn't feel intentional. Like you don't.
The rest doesn't really matter. And my question was like, would you have preferred to have this book set in 2023 than in the 90s? And do you think that would have changed anything? But I think we kind of answered the second question.
I think it being set in the 90s, like Aisling basically said what I was thinking about how it was shot. I feel like if it was modern day, it would be too far back, and it just wouldn't make a lot of sense for what like the job she was doing and having access to the things that she did have, because we've updated so much from then.
Yeah.
So I think that's a good point. Also, I don't know how you guys feel about this, but I do think there is a thin line a lot of the times with books that are set either present day or in the past with like references to things at that time, because it can either really date the book or like add to the context. So I feel like it's so hard to find where that line is, because I know when I read stuff from like 2010 and they reference something like that happened on social media or something, I'm like, oh, that's kind of weird. You know what I mean?
Yes. I totally agree. Like that is something that always takes me out of this. You know what? It takes me out of the story. I feel like when they do it and when it's set in present day, like, and I do this, I feel like a lot in YA. I feel like it happens most there where there is like these references, like pop culture references.
Well, it's the Gen Z people out there. Like they need the pop culture references.
Yeah.
Like, but we're like old people. We're like millennials. Yeah. We don't need Beyonce being name dropped every 2 seconds. Like,
I don't know.
But there was a lot of name dropping and a lot of references in this book. It just they were Mexican and Spanish film references.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And I think, it was way more niche than your average pop culture reference.
Yeah.
Right.
Because for me, I didn't know if it was real references or they were like in the context of the book.
Yeah.
Well, the director guy, he's not real. Like his name is not real, but he's inspired by an actual Mexican director that was really good. So like, there's a lot of stuff, and I'll send you, and I can even like put it maybe in the chat. I found it on her website. There's a lot of explanation. Like she talks a lot about the books that inspired the films that inspired the books and all of these things. And I feel like it's pretty cool. But there is a bit of like, movie references. It's just they're much less unknown than like the usual, I just want to watch The Sixth Sense or what you I know what you did last summer type of things. Like that's good. And I want to say though, because I didn't enter my own question like 2023, I think it would have been cool to do it in 2023 in the sense that it would have added more creepiness to the whole like going back to the past, because 90s, it was already like before the 90s, and then there was like the time difference would have been much bigger, and it would have been cool to see her investigate with like actual like the resources we have today. Maybe what would have been cool is like she doesn't live in Mexico but lives, I don't know, somewhere else, and she has to go to Mexico to actually get like firsthand like data and like actually do the investigation, talk to the daughters and sons of like the director, and like kind of do it with more like investigation and less romance, like and like the whole thing. I think it would have been cool to see it like from 2020 perspective. But then it's true that the whole Silver Nitrate films thingy would have felt really like old to talk about it in 2023. Like it would not have made any sense. And she really wanted to talk about Silver Nitrate. And in the thing, I'll send you the PDF I found that she wrote, I assume, because it's on her website. She talks about why she named the book Silver Nitrate and like the whole thing. And like she was like, years ago when I was a kid and watching TV, I remember the announcer saying the next horror film of the night would be Nitrato de Plata, Silver Nitrate in Spanish. I must have misheard because no such horror film exists. And for years, I looked for this film. And since I couldn't find it, I wrote a horror novel with the name after a movie that never was. So,
that's kind of cool.
That's kind of cool. I will send a PDF because it's actually interesting. There's a cocktail recipe in it as well, for whatever reason. I don't know why, but there's a cocktail recipe. Did I miss any mention to alcohol or anything in the book? Because I don't understand why there's a cocktail
I don't
recipe
think
in this thing.
Yeah,
that's very random.
But, well, I cannot drink this alcohol cocktail because it has orange, and I'm allergic to orange. But if you do like cocktails, you can do the cocktail recipe that Silvia Moreno Garcia says. Recommends. All right.
One other thing I wanted to mention. So I really like cult stories. So that's a part that I really loved. It was, again, totally out of left field for me, but I was like pleasantly surprised. But one thing for me, and I'm interested to hear what you guys think. Obviously, yours was a horrible person and like a Nazi, but I didn't find him to be scary. Like, it was almost like pathetic, sort of, where he's like, I'm coming back. And I'm like, okay, cool. Well, you know what I mean? Like, it was like, I didn't find him to be someone that they should be worried about until maybe like the last 50 pages or whatever, when the big scene is happening. But the whole time they're worried about him coming back. And I'm like, yeah, he's evil, but I feel like you guys could easily just get rid of him again. You know, like I just didn't get the fear as much.
For me, that was another thing that wasn't like another character that wasn't fleshed out enough to actually make us scared of it. And I wanted to talk to you guys about that like end climax scene. If you guys found that like climactic, like if you found it scary, I don't know. For me, like when we finally got the reveal of this villain guy that we've been talking about the whole book, I just didn't care almost. Like he wasn't scary to me at all. And I don't know.
It kind of was reminding me a little bit of Harry Potter too, with like Voldemort coming back. But I was like, that was kind of scary as a kid. But like this guy is just like
yeah.
I don't know why, but I actually found him creepy.
Okay.
I kept picturing like, maybe because I was really like imagining me, like I was really having like vivid images of the book in my head. Like I fan casted Montserrat and like every character in the book in my head, like, you know, so that like I do this to visualize the book better in my head every time. And like I really felt the creepiness of like Montserrat investigating and seeing the pictures of this guy and like hearing the stories of like how he cursed the movie and like how he's gonna come back, and like I don't know, I really felt immersed in this whole thingy. And I pictured him as like the creepy guy from like Captain America, like the creepy doctor that experiments on him and like whatnot. So I don't know, like I guess I had like a very specific picture of him, and then I was like, you know. And Nazis, I mean, I think that's a general thing, but like they're creepy. So,
you know what I found?
No, buddy, like now I cannot picture. If you say he's like Lord Farquaad, I cannot.
Oh my god,
that's who I was picturing.
That's funny.
You know, just like a little angry man that's like, I'm gonna come back.
Yes. Oh my gosh. You know what was genuinely scary though in this book? I paged the part that was actually scary to me. Page 106, it's in chapter 8. Tristan's ex-girlfriend that died, that girl, when the first time she appears to him.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
That was atmospheric. That creeped me out. I was like, oh my god, this is getting good, you know? But that was like
and when she's in the building and she's like, there's a shadow and then there's not a shadow and then the shadow, and I was like, what is happening? I hate it. I hate these things. I'm trying to find the quote that I liked, because I did highlight a lot of things, but it was like in the mood of it, like that I really enjoyed them. But now that I'm rereading them, I'm not enjoying them as much.
So I tabbed a quote I really love. So this is something I liked about this book. Okay, it was on page 39. And it's Montserrat is talking about horror movies and when her and Tristan would watch horror movies together.
Oh,
and
yeah.
she said for him, it was the sight of the monster that terrified him and the idea of becoming the hero that seduced him. But she said for herself that she saw herself in the faces of monsters and did not wince. And I really liked that. Like that was a cool, like adding to her character, you know, and that was a point where the writing really stood out to me.
I think that's because I did look at some parts that I highlighted. I have no system on highlighting. So, I just add tabs. But some quotes and some passages are really strong and very like good. And like, I think it gets lost in everything else. And now in retrospective that I'm like talking and looking at the book in an analytical way. But like, for instance, even the last paragraph, I really enjoyed. Like, I'm not going to read it because that's like the most spoilerish thing to say on a live discussion. But I do genuinely enjoy the last paragraph, even though it's cheesy AF and, it's like when the romance really flowers and whatnot.
Yeah.
And I liked some of the mentions, like, there's a lot of like hidden niche references, like when they talk about Sarah Winchester and like the haunted house she built and all of this. I was like, oh, I like these things. Like these are like tiny things that I really like. So I was really vibing with it.
Did you guys only read it physically, or did you guys also listen on audio at all?
No, just physical.
Okay, I'm wondering if anybody in the chat listened to the audio of this, because I listened and read it, and something else super random. Okay, this is me being picky, but something that annoyed me was Tristan kept calling her Momo.
Yes.
And, oh my God, like it got so annoying.
I did not like that.
So that's a pet. Okay, so that's a pet peeve because like, I don't know why, but like no one in Catalonia would shorten the name Montserrat as Momo.
Right.
Like the short version of Montserrat is Monse, which is like the first five letters. But maybe that's just another thing. Like I'm not nitpicking.
Yeah.
What's weird is that like I have a person in my life that I call Momo, and it's a boy. Like his name is Mohamed, and I just call him Momo. And like it just felt weird because like every time I would think of my friend, I'd be like, why are you calling her Momo when it's not the name of Montserrat? Like I was like, I don't get it.
Yeah.
But I have a last question for Mikala.
Okay. Yes.
Because Maddie, you have a 3 out of 5. So the question is, and you were overall a bit less critical than Mikala.
Yeah.
But would you have DNF'd this if it had not been for the book club?
I don't think I would have, because it was I will say that too. Like, I appreciate when a book is very easy to listen to, and something too for my ratings. Like, sometimes it's hard for me to pick between a 2 and a 1, because a 2 is not a positive rating. That generally means I dislike the book. But I think the difference between a 1 star and a 2 star for me is if the book is like genuinely offensive to me.
Yeah.
It has offensive content in it. And I think that's why this was a 2 star for me, because it was a quick read. I flew through it and there was nothing genuinely offensive about it other than me really finding the romance problematic. But it wasn't like that wasn't enough for me to absolutely hate this.
Yeah.
So
it wasn't Hidden Pictures level of I hate this book.
Yes. And I don't
know if you've read Hidden Pictures.
Oh, Mikala. Actually, no. Mikala, you need to read it because I need to hear you tear it apart.
Guys,
I do not want to read this as a book club book because I do not want to suffer again this experience. But when you read it, we'll have like a 10-minute discussion on this book in the whatever book club happens after.
So I just filmed a video. I have not edited it or posted it yet, but the video is books. Like it's like 20 books that I have taken off my TBR, and I'm pretty sure Hidden Pictures is one of them.
Yeah.
So
that's a good thing.
Good choice.
Yeah.
Well, good choice. But if ever it happens that you read this book, we'll talk about it.
Okay.
Yeah, for the DNF question, if I was someone who could DNF easier, I probably would have, because of the romance part. I'm so picky with romance. Like I read maybe 2 or 3 a year, and I'm so picky because I find it's so hard for me to find them that aren't like problematic or just like corny. And this one was just like, there's so many issues with it. And the ending, like we're in the spoil part now, but the fact that he was painted to be like this fuck boy and they end up together, I'm just like, what are you trying to say? Like,
yes,
because she's not wearing makeup, so he finally saw the beauty in her.
Oh, I hate that.
You girls don't get it.
And she was aware of it too. She was aware. She was aware of how he treated her and what he thought of her. And she was just like, yeah, he just waits for me to be around when he's not with someone else. And then she was okay with it. I'm like,
right.
Like, yeah, go off. Just like betray yourself, I guess. I don't know.
God. Yes. And the fact, again, that this is written by a female author, like we never have a point where okay, you know what? I know we're at the end here, but let me just add this one more point. I can see myself actually getting not on board with it, but not hating this romance. If there had been a point where she stood up for herself and said no, she dipped her toe into it when she started to say, I don't want your key. Because he was going to give her the key to his apartment every time he breaks up with the girl, so she'll come over whenever he wants her to. I don't know. But she never actually like stood up for herself. And then if there was that moment where she's like, I need a break from you, you're toxic. And then he's like, you're right, I am, and he comes back and like redeems himself. But there was never that. There was just this inner monologue of him saying, she's prettier without makeup. And then they sleep next to each other one time, right? And he puts his arm around her and now they're going to live together. Like, what? What am I? Sorry. I'm sorry, Mary.
It's so true.
I'm so sorry.
Maybe one of my romance tropes, because as Maddie, I think I read like one romance book a year.
Yeah.
I think I'm realizing that maybe one of my favorite tropes is like strangers to lovers.
Okay.
Strangers to
lovers. But these are
just like they're best friends. I mean, if I had a best friend like this, I wouldn't even want to know what your enemy looks like because he's a shit. But like, I think, I don't know why, but like, I feel like she's very harsh to him throughout the entire book. Like, she talks to him very bad. Like, I feel like both of these characters are not good to each other. Like, she's mean to him. Because, like, okay, yes, he's an asshole. He's a fuckboy. He, like, depends on her and blah, blah, blah. But in a way, she's also, like, always super mean to him. Like, she's very, like, toxic to him as well. And I feel like they deserve each other because they're both as toxic as they could be to one another. But I don't know. Like, honestly, I didn't like the romance to begin with. So I thought I would have preferred them to be like besties and nothing ever happens and we stay as besties and that's it. Then they're like her pushing the whole like romance down our throats because that's what was happening.
Brooklyn had a good question because I think Brooklyn, you said you didn't finish the book, right? So they did close up the ex-girlfriend thing. He like let her go by like bringing it was when he learned how to summon the dead. So he summoned her, basically apologized, and then burned her picture. And then she disappeared. That was like how that got wrapped up.
A picture to burn.
Sorry. Little T-Swift reference.
Sorry, that was like when you said like it's true that like anyway. Perfect. That's it. I think this is a good high to end. I don't know if people watching, do you have any specific questions, anything that maybe we didn't talk about that you might want to hear us talk about? I know there's like 30-second delay between what I'm saying and what's happening, so we'll just wait a bit. But has your rating changed, Maddie, Mikala?
Mine personally has not, but I do as well want to say that I feel like this book will have an audience. Like, it's not a terrible book at all. Like, I don't think that people should not read this. I just think I'm not the right person for it. A lot of times I think it's just not for me. But like, I can see people really liking this one.
For sure. Yeah, I think I'm still a solid 3. Like, if I focus too much on the romance, I want to drop down to a 2, but there was still so much about the plot that I actually liked. Like the horror parts of it, I did really enjoy. So I'm still a solid 3. What about you,
me,
Mary? Yeah.
I stay on a 5 emotional rating. Like the moment I finished it, it was a 5, and I said like, this is good. After analyzing a bit the book, I think it's a solid 3. Like the romance really does lower the rating at a good start, like already from the get-go. And the fact that I would have edited the book differently and added more on the whole occultism and Nazi past and all of this, like, you know, a 3 out of 5. So I'll put that on Goodreads for the world to know. But I do agree with you, Mikala. It's not a terrible book. We're just overanalyzing it and like really nitpicking. And obviously, this is the point of the discussion. Otherwise, wouldn't do it.
Yeah.
But I think at the beginning I said, do I prefer this still to Mexican Gothic?
What did you rate Mexican Gothic, Mary?
That's a good question. I'm gonna check.
Yeah, I think this one was just not marketed correctly. I think if it was marketed, like the cover is amazing, but like, oh, this is really bad glare. But like that's a horror novel. There's no romance there, you know? So I think if it,
Doesn't Silvia Moreno Garcia have like another book that's like crime noir? Doesn't she have like, is it called
She has a lot of books, which is weird because like she has this like book about, I think her highest rated is like Gods of Jane and Shadow, but it doesn't look anything horror.
I think
it's more like I've been wanting to read The Daughter of Dr. Moreau for a long time. It's the one but I think her lowest rated book is Velvet Was the Night, and I think that's the one you're talking about, Mikala.
Oh, okay, yes. Okay, I was thinking on a different one, but that I was getting two of them mixed up. I had in my mind the cover of, I think it's called like A Certain Darkness or something. Or
no, that's
I have to go to her, but yes, that is the crime noir. What is it? It has her with like a wolf on the cover. It's like very colorful fantasy looking.
Certain Dark Things. Certain Dark Things, and it's a science fiction book. It's not a horror book. Yes. I've been wanting to read that one for a long time.
So I guess that's a good question too. Like, would you read another book from this author?
Yeah, I would. I would like to read Mexican Gothic, I think.
Yeah, me too.
I think my next one from her is going to be either Certain Dark Things or The Daughter of Dr. Moreau, because it's ridiculous how long these two have been on my TBR. So like, might as well get them out of the way. And I think I rated the 4 out of 5 Mexican Gothic. So I think, just by rating alone, I prefer Mexican Gothic, but it's been a long time. I read it like 2 years ago. So, I should reread it to have a proper rating. And I think there was a question on like any favorite book by this author, but since I'm the only one that read 2 of her books and you have only read 1, I think the answer was the question was answered already. And I think this is definitely going to be nominated to the Goodreads choice, which I'm happy, because since I'm going to film the whole like reading all the nominees and winners, it's good. I have another, one book less to read. And I don't know who's going to be nominated. I need to check the horror books 2023.
I just thought of an amazing video idea. Like, do people do this video idea where it's like the Goodreads awards, like predictions, like where you
I do this. I did this last year, but I posted it in 2 parts, like all in one video. I did predictions, reading my top 10, my the 10 books I thought were going to be voted for the second round, and then I adjusted because I was super wrong about my predictions. And then me reacting to the winner, which sadly last year was Hidden Pictures. I'm gonna stop talking about this book, but I'm still not over it. But yeah, like predictions is I think
Kayla from Books and Lala does a really good one too.
Yeah,
she does pretty.
But she said she was gonna stop doing it this year.
Oh right, yeah.
But yeah.
So
it was
do we want
my
to
year tradition to do it, but to watch her video. But she said maybe she's changed her mind from last year, but she did say she was gonna stop.
Yeah. I'm in the middle of doing all 20 from last year. I'm not doing that again.
Yes.
I'll do 10. I'm not doing 20.
Maddie, I've been waiting for this video. I remember.
I have like 2, I think, left. I have 2 left.
Last year, I initially wanted to do the top 20, like read the 20 of them, like Kayla does.
Yeah.
It's
too much.
No way I can do 20, because I was like, I can do 20 if I already read most of them.
Yeah.
But I actually had only read like 2, and I was like,
yeah, I only read 3.
Like,
and some of the ones that are really low down are so fantasy, and I'm just like, I can't do this.
Well, like in the fact, because that's why I did my personal top 10, and then I adjusted, because I was like, this is the best way of reading horror that I'm interested in, and not forcing myself to read books that are not good, because I ended up reading books that I hated, like Hidden Pictures.
If you guys are doing horror, now you're making me want to do the thriller mystery category.
Ooh, that would be good. That one would probably be fun to do, because I feel like horror is really hit and miss, but that one's probably be pretty solid.
Yeah, and you can fly through like thrillers, so
yeah,
we'll see.
It's the thrillers are much more like chill,
quick, right? Yeah.
Who won the thriller last year? And then we'll wrap it up, because we're just having a chit chat now. Who won thriller? The Maid.
Was it The Maid? The Maid.
Oh no,
that's another one I took off my TBR.
Oh, Mikala, no, you would have hated it.
No,
I have never officially DNF'd the book, but I've unofficially DNF'd The Maid.
I'm not even gonna go into it.
No.
No. This is a discussion for another day.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
I think we said, so for our next pick, we will do a poll. I think we're going to try to come up with like 4 options or so. So if you guys in the chat, if anybody's still here, if you guys have any books that you
6 people still here.
Oh, okay. So. That's awesome. Okay. Thank you guys for sticking. Oh my God. That's awesome. But yes, if you guys have any books that you would like to read with us or see us review or discuss, let us know, because we're going to do a poll with like 4 choices or something and see what you guys want. So
probably going to be like 1 choice from each one of us. So 3 books, and the book you proposed, and then we'll do the poll like that way, like, it's balanced.
Yeah.
And the next show, I think we'll probably figure out how to get the comments like on the screen. Because I feel like, I can't figure it out personally.
Well, on StreamYard, I don't know what happened, even though I kind of think I know what happened. It's because since I scheduled the video and then I rescheduled and whatnot, I think it thinks it's still on private, even though it's public.
Oh,
so StreamYard is bugging on this, but that's just like a technical thing. But I do see them on my screen on the YouTube page, but you don't, because it's on my channel. That's why. Gotcha. But we'll figure it out better next time.
Yeah.
And next one will be on Maddie's channel too.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Yep. End of October. We're skipping September because it's too
short notice.
It's too short notice. We are all having like adult lives outside of our booktube channels, and we don't want to rush reading a book by the end of September. And we just want to have a nice experience reading it. So it will be end of October for Halloween, which is the best time of the year. So I hope you're ready, and I hope the book we pick is a good book.
Yeah.
For Halloween. So yes.
Perfect.
Anything we want to say? Is it good?
I just want to thank everybody for joining, because I feel like that, it's just awesome to see people in the comments. Like, I know we all comment on each other's videos and stuff, but just like having people here, I don't know, it's just so awesome.
It is so cool too, like, because I don't know people in my real life who read books, and like that's why I wanted to start this YouTube channel, and like to feel like I've made friends with you guys, like everybody in the chat and Maddie and Meri. Like, I'm so thankful for that. So like, thank you guys so much for coming. It's so cool.
Yes, and I'm not gonna say the same, but thank you so much. It's been like really cool, and like it's so nice to have like live conversations, not only with you two, but also with like all the channels we all watch and like all the people like we talk about with books about, because it's like, you know, our passion, and like it's very cool. So I hope to see you guys end of October once we have the date. Still not set, but we'll communicate it soon. And again, thank you so much. And I'm gonna go update Silver Nitrate on Goodreads. All right, I'm gonna end broadcast, whatever happens. So I don't know if we're gonna lose to, like, we're gonna disappear or whatnot, but like, we'll see you. Bye.